What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. I have a very exciting video today because I'm going to be breaking down my crypto predictions for 2026. I'm going to break down the altcoin narratives that I think will outperform this year, some of my controversial or contrarian opinions on the market, my Bitcoin price prediction, and much more. I've got 10 predictions for you today across a variety of sectors, and I'm looking forward to, at the end of the year, looking back on how we did in today's video. So I think this video is going to be great. It's going to give you a mix of macro, where I think the market's going, where I think Bitcoin's going, what I think the drivers are this year, and a mix of altcoins, what I think the dominant narratives are going to be, where I think the opportunity is, and I've got some alpha sprinkled throughout to help you profit and find altcoin gems this year. So it's going to be a banger show. If you do enjoy content like this, make sure to smash the like button. And without further ado, let's get into the first prediction. It is ordered 1 to 10, but it's in no particular order. I think the 10th prediction and the 9th prediction are just as important as the first, second, and third prediction in today's video. So my first prediction is an altcoin one. It's that AI and AI agents make a real comeback. Now, we know at the beginning of 2025, AI agents went absolutely crazy. We had that season in January where a lot of the small cap agents were popping, but since then the hype has faded and a lot of agent tokens have ended up having a downtrend for over a year. However, I do think this is the year that the narrative turns around. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that every single agent that pumped last year is going to pump again. No, because there are a lot of new teams launching tokens, there are a lot of new protocols coming to the market, and not every protocol that was successful in 2025 still has the same catalyst that made them successful back then. However, what I can tell you is from a narrative perspective, something is starting to brew again. We've seen Google searches for Claude code starting to skyrocket. Again, we know if you've been on X over the last week, everyone's really interested in Claude code after some of their recent updates. So vibe coding has become really popular, and it just feels like this is a really important year for AI. Of course, due to the exponential nature of AI development, every year is an important year for AI, but this year feels different, and it feels like there's a lot more retail interest in AI. And it doesn't take much for that to spill over into speculative assets. All it takes is one announcement, one catalyst, one breakthrough protocol, and you could see prices absolutely skyrocketing. We had some periods last year where you saw robotics pop off, and some periods obviously at the start of the year where you saw agents pop off. But I think this is the year where you really see this sector come back in a big way. I don't have my full list for you in today's video. I can go through a couple of things that I'm looking at. The first thing that I'm looking at and acts as a catalyst for the AI narrative overall is X402. It's a new payment standard, which is facilitating the transferring of capital. So for example, stablecoins from agent to agent. This actually unlocks, I think, a lot of upside for agent capability this year. I think you're also going to see the advancements in the models like Claude Opus 4.5 spill over into the use cases that you can find in crypto. And I think that crypto and AI are the perfect synergy together. I think they go really well together because crypto gives you the financial programmability and capabilities, and AI gives you the automation aspect. So AI and crypto together automates finance, and that is the future of where the world is going. So I see them as really dominant trends that go hand in hand, which is why I'm putting a lot of focus into AI agents and AI protocols specifically, not necessarily buying them all randomly, but my team, so my research team, is meeting dozens of these projects every single month. I'm personally speaking to lots of AI founders. I had a great call yesterday with a founder that's got a really good AI intelligence startup. I'm having meetings tomorrow. I have my weekend actually booked out as well. Like, this is the sector where I'm spending the most time and the most energy researching because I think it has the most upside. It's also the sector where I'm directing my team to spend a lot of their time researching. A round that I recently invested in is Sentient. This is a big one. This comes from one of the co-founders of Polygon. He is behind this, so this is going to be a big launch to keep your eye on. So we do have some big AI launches this year, which could potentially catalyze further mindshare in the sector. So that's one that I'm watching. Another one in robotics that I'm watching is Ex Machina. I talked about this on the show earlier last year, but they are going to be launching very soon. They have their community sale actually today, so you can go and check that out. And they are all about robotics, so giving you the opportunity to get exposure to exciting robotics startups. This is a very interesting narrative because I think robotics is obviously going to be a big thing in the future, but you may start to see the murmurings of hype start to set in this year, just like they did for a little bit last year. So overall, I think AI and AI agents are primed to make a comeback due to catalysts that we are seeing in the real world, and due to the fact that A lot of those protocols in 2025 weren't ready back then, and now they are finally ready, or at least the tech is a lot better than it was a year ago. Honestly, if we are going to be critical with ourselves, and I also got really hyped up last year because it was an exciting concept, but a lot of the tech just wasn't there yet. I can tell you from speaking to a lot of teams now, the tech is significantly better, and that is going to create opportunity. By the way, I'm creating my watch list for AI agents. I'm sure I'm going to do a video on it at some point, so make sure to subscribe and have the notification bell turned on because we are going to do that, but that is going to be only once I conclude my research process. I'm not going to rush calls in this market. I'm doing a really diligent research process. I'm meeting a lot of teams and I'm extracting real alpha because the reality is not all of the protocols that exist in the market or were popular last year are going to be the ones that run during the next AI run. It is going to be a different landscape. And I'm trying to meet all of the teams that are building so I can work out which ones are doing a good job, which ones have developed, and which ones are still stuck in the past. By the way, speaking of having notifications turned on, you guys know that if you have the notifications turned on and you comment on these videos, you have a chance to win $100. So I'm going to go through and pick from the last video 2 days ago, the winners from the Noti Gang giveaway. So VIRDESI, Desai, you win $100. JVX Trades, you win $100. Sunub, you win $100. Barn, you win $100. And Gabriel, you win $100. So if you guys are watching this video, make sure to email the email in the description below to claim your $100. My team will be in contact with you. And if you didn't win, or if you won before and you want to win again, comment on this video, Noti Gang, and make sure you have notifications turned on because we are going to ask you to confirm that in the email and you stand a chance to win $100. I'm giving back to the community that watches in and tunes in when these videos drop every single day. All right, we have 9 more predictions and I've got some big ones. So let's get into things here. Number 2. Equities and metals perps trading explodes. So one of my theses this year is that we continue to see the proliferation of perps in the mainstream arena. So not just crypto token trading, but we see more equities trading, we see more metals trading in the crypto market. A lot of platforms are now really developed in terms of their technology. I mean, Hyperliquid, ASTER, they keep getting better and better and better. The experience in many cases on DEX is now actually better than centralized exchanges, and you have instant settlement. A lot of these have their own proprietary blockchains like Hyperliquid, which is super fast, and this is definitely the future of trading. I mean, just think about it, right? Gold is really hot. It's in a bull market. Equities are really hot. They're in a bull market. What tends to happen towards the end of bull markets? Well, people move up the risk curve. They take on more risk towards the end of bull runs. And a prediction I'm going to tell you later is where I think we're going this year. Spoiler alert, I think from a macro perspective, there is still upside this year. And that is going to create towards the end of the cycle, if the cycle top is this year, a lot of euphoria. And that is going to bubble over into people taking more and more risk. And if people take on more risk, what do? They want to gamble on perps. They don't just want a long gold. That's boring. Could only go up 20%. They want a long and 10x gold so they can make 200% on a move. And what's the easiest way to do that? Well, it's crypto. It's on the blockchain. I mean, how annoying is it even to purchase gold or equities on a traditional brokerage account? You have to sometimes wait 2 days for settlement. You have to ramp your money on. You have to pay crazy fees. It's so inefficient. Whenever I buy real equities, I'm like, what am I doing? This is so inefficient. Whereas on the blockchain now, you'll be able to just long gold on Hyperliquid or ASTER. It's so much easier. You'll be able to long equities, NASDAQ, Apple, Tesla, Google, especially towards the end of the cycle, the blow off top. People will be able to do this on chain now. I think this is one of the big reasons why new retail is going to come into the blockchain market. Doesn't necessarily mean buying altcoins, but into the crypto ecosystem without even knowing they're in the crypto ecosystem. And the protocols that benefit from this are the perp dexes, which have the best technology. Now, if I had to pick 4, I'm going to give you a bonus to watch this year and potentially hold. I hold 3 of these. Firstly, it's Hyperliquid. It's the biggest one in the market. This is one that I hold and I recently accumulated more of at the wick low of October 10th, which was around $22. Secondly, ASTER. Obviously, with CZ backing this is basically like Binance's perp dex. They've got more airdrops coming. This is one that I also recently added at 66 to 68 cents. The next one is Apex. I still hold some Apex. This is basically Bybit's DEX. I think this one could do really well, but it's at a lower market cap, which is why I think it's attractive versus the other 2, but it's obviously not as popularized as the other 2. The other one that recently launched that I haven't added yet, but I think could be an opportunity if it dips again is lighter. They have a really nice trading interface and have also done a lot of volume. As you can see in front of you, they are the third biggest after Hyperliquid and ASTER. And probably the other one from this list that doesn't have a token yet, but I think is interesting is Gravity. I'm definitely going to be airdrop farming and trading on Gravity because it's a very good protocol and the tech is super strong. I think you're going to see that soon also if you start getting involved. In fact, you can start getting involved now. So those are probably the four, with Gravity being the upcoming one, which is the bonus. But overall, I think we see significant expansion in the equities and metals Perps trading department this year. Prediction number 3, prediction market volumes 5x. Now, this is actually quite a big prediction because the 5x is huge, but obviously we saw improvements, leaps and bounds above the previous year in prediction markets last year. They pretty much came from nowhere and really swept up a lot of market share. I mean, Polymarket is even partnering with Dow Jones Media, and Tom Brady and all of these sports commentators are now referencing the Polymarket odds. It's become a real cultural phenomenon. We see weekly notional volume of 3.4 billion. This is a killer crypto use case, which is now broken into the mainstream. But there's still lots of opportunity there from an altcoin perspective. If volume's 5x, there's going to be a lot of secondary protocols that are building on top of prediction markets, a lot of pick and shovels for prediction market infrastructure, liquidity, perp trading that are all going to do really well. So if your thesis is like mine, that Kalshi and Polymarket will continue to grow, then there are going to be lots of opportunities in the altcoin arena. One of these opportunities that I'm involved in is Space. Space is the first leverage prediction market built on Solana. So they will allow you to 10x leverage certain markets on prediction markets. So if you want to go even more degen, for example, if you want to bet on something with an 80% probability, but you're only going to make a 20% return, you can make a 200% return if you leverage. Now, you're taking on more risk, of course, and if the market's low liquidity, you might be taking on even more risk, but it does give the degens a chance to make more money. And we know people are gamblers. We know people are degens. So leverage prediction markets, I think, is a big trend. So keep your eye on Space. They're going to be launching soon, and I'm an early investor there. I think their community sale went absolutely crazy. Their public sale, 10 million, which is actually oversubscribed. So there's a lot of demand for it. So this is one that I'm watching, but there are going to be other protocols as well. So keep your eye on the prediction market area or the prediction market space, pardon the pun, because I think it's going to be a big one, and I think we are going to see volumes 5xing at some point this year. That is my prediction. So for that prediction to come correct, when we review this, the weekly notional volume needs to be, let's say, over 15 billion, which would mean prediction markets go to the next level. I think a lot of this volume is going to be driven, and it obviously depends how you calculate it, not just by Kalshi and Polymarket, but by the new protocols that are building on top of it. And the notional volume is just looking at the underlying trading volume. I think that number, the real figure, will be a lot higher once you factor in leveraged markets like Space, which are adding even more volume on top of that, so it can be even bigger than that. I mean, you've also got Limitless as well. You've got Opinion Labs. You've got many protocols entering this arena, but it is an area of extreme interest for me and should be something that you also look at as well. All right, prediction number 4. This is a quick one. Neobanks become crypto's most exponential sector. I've personally been introduced to the world of neobanks recently. I needed some ulterior banking solutions and some additional banking solutions. So I've been testing a bunch, EtherFi, Cast, and honestly, I've been mind blown. Like the settlement, the speed, being able to put stablecoins from an exchange into your Cast wallet and then send out to bank accounts all around the world and pay people. Like it's the perfect merging of these worlds. Like anyone that's experienced difficulties with off-ramping, that's basically gone now. And with the Clarity Act coming for stablecoins, it's only going to get easier to swap your crypto to fiat and your fiat to crypto, so to on and off ramp. So I think neobanks are a massive opportunity. I've been speaking to a lot of people building neobanks behind the scenes, building for crypto users specifically, and it's just where the world's going. I think people are sick of a lot of the other banking solutions. I mean, Revolut and Wise and all these applications have become really popular recently, and this is the next evolution. Even more ease of use for crypto participants, and it'll mean that you don't even really need to use in your day-to-day life. Of course, you might still have one for certain reasons and depending on the country you're in and if you have a mortgage, etc. But a lot of people won't even need to use traditional banks. You'll just be able to have a bunch of neobanks, and you'll be able to have your card and spend crypto from your card. This is a huge trend. This is something that crypto people have wanted for ages. It's only now, because of the regulatory clarity, that we are now actually able to do this. And of course, the infrastructure has just gotten so much better. So I think they have the potential. The reason I'm predicting they could become crypto's most exponential sector is because it has the biggest total addressable market, pretty much. I mean, not everyone wants to gamble, but everyone needs to store their money somewhere. And that's where neobanks come in. It's just way easier. There's also, I think, a big market here in the third world countries where people can't necessarily get access to a bank account. Obviously, you still need to KYC on a lot of these neobanks, but it's just a lot easier and there's less regulatory stringency in terms of signing up. So I think it's going to be a big trend this year. And I think it also creates some altcoin opportunities. So, I mean, we saw Avicii run recently, but there's going to be more. Many of the applications are going to end up launching their own tokens. Obviously, things like EtherFi already have tokens, so it's going to be a massive trend in the market, one to keep your eye on. Prediction number 5, and this is something that you can definitely get involved in, is that ICOs will be back in full force. We already saw this towards the end of the year. I mean, I already pointed out earlier in the video that Space was oversubscribed. I think some of the other projects that I've spoken about today also had massive sales. This is the new meta. These projects are now going away from the traditional models with the VCs and launching directly on exchanges with no retail participation and adding in ICO participation for retail. Once again, this is a reflection of the regulatory environment. You weren't able to involve retail in public sales just due to the SEC's crackdown on crypto, which made it really, really difficult. But now you can. So this is going to open the floodgates in terms of the potential for ICOs, and I think a lot of new protocols that are launching this year are going to pick the ICO model. So ICOs are back, and it's definitely something you should be paying attention to. Something that everyone should be doing is regularly tracking, and actually you can do this on Claude now. I've been vibe coding a lot of stuff. Just to give you some ideas, I've vibe coded a habit tracker, I vibe coded gamification for my daily crypto routine. Something that you can definitely vibe code is a dashboard on Claude to track upcoming ICOs that notify you the day before so you don't miss anything and then log your investments. So I'm going to be doing more videos on vibe coding, by the way, soon. I think the best way to start when it comes to vibe coding on Claude Code is just starting by replacing existing workflows. You don't need to vibe code the next 100K a month app. All you need to do is vibe code things that help you in your own life. And that's the best way to get an understanding of AI and get started with AI. I'm going to have a lot of content coming about that soon because I've been having a lot of fun vibe coding. I've pretty much been vibe coding in the background all day alongside my normal work and research, and it's really been helping me out. And something for ICOs, I think, just like airdrop farming, that's really important. It's just not missing the ICO dates. I mean, a lot of these give you opportunities to make money if you get in on time. So it's really about organization, and SOAR, as you can see in front of you, is a site that allows you to get access to early stage companies. So you can get access to startups that are launching in crypto, but they aren't necessarily like crypto coins. A lot of these are legit businesses from the real world that are deciding to launch tokens. There's a variety of reasons why you decide to launch a token: more distribution, ability to bootstrap, fundraise, incentivize, depending on their mechanisms. For example, if you're an AI project, it's easier to distribute tokens for nodes or stakers to actually incentivize a big network of data training than it is to operate in traditional rails. So a lot of these companies are now going to be using crypto. So keep your eye on SOAR. What I recommend is that you go onto the site, you regularly check out what they've got coming, and you create an account on the site. So then when opportunities come, you're in the loop, and then combine that with Claude. I mean, you can even do this manually with Google Sheets or Notes or Notion or whatever you like to use, and create a tracker so you don't miss anything. Very important with ICOs that you are organized. All right, prediction number 6. This is one that you guys are probably waiting for because this is a big one. Bitcoin ends the year higher than it started. So there's been a lot of discourse about the 4-year cycle and how technically Bitcoin put in its top. Look, I don't know for sure whether Bitcoin is topped or not. It's pretty much impossible to say. I have a feeling we can actually break past this and go higher. What I do know, or what I have a lot more confidence in, is the fact that we're going to gun for highs again at some point. I think we're going to have another big push up. Whether or not we have the veracity to break past and go to 150 plus, that really depends on the broader macro environment at the time, DATs, flows, demand, all sorts of things, rates, whether ISM significantly upticks, whether we get that extra rate cut all of this stuff is going to dictate how aggressively Bitcoin can push to the upside. But I think in any case, I'm expecting us to close above 90K this year. So I think we're going to have a big run up at some point. We may even blast through and then come back down and end the year up. So obviously it wouldn't look like that because that would take us into 2030 on the yearly chart. It would look like this, but I do think that is what you're going to see this year. I think you'll see Bitcoin pushing up. I have a video on why I think that's the case because there is a lot of data behind it. What you need to know is that we are entering what is likely to be the final year in the business cycle. There's a lot of evidence behind that, a variety of indicators, which I'm going to do a dedicated video on, which lead me to believe that Bitcoin is going to make a peak. And right now, we are seeing very similar bottoming formation to what we saw in April last year. So this is kind of a big, ugly rounded bottom that Bitcoin is currently putting in. 87.5K is the current POC. You don't want to see us losing that level as long as we hold above. I think Bitcoin can consolidate for its next leg to the upside. In terms of when it's going to happen, no one really knows. Jason Pizzino pointed out the fact it could have a run towards the end of the year. I was thinking always more end of Q1, Q2 for the Bitcoin run, but obviously it's going to depend on the macro side of things. What I do know is that we should have a push up this year. Obviously, I don't have a crystal ball. Things change in the market, but this is a predictions video. I'm not going to go 10 out of 10, but I'm doing my best to predict the market as I see it right now, based on the info we have right now. And obviously, if you watch all the videos, as you should if you have notifications turned on, things can change throughout the year as they happen, and I'll update you as my stats shifts more bullish or more bearish. So periods last year where I shifted more bearish during points of the year based on data, and there are periods where I shifted more bullish based on data. So it's always adapting, and you have to adapt your exposure. So what percentage you're allocated to the market, what percentage you're allocated out of the market, and the types of buckets you trade in depending on the current environment. Prediction number 7. RWA has its second biggest year ever. Now that might not sound exciting. You might be expecting me to say RWA has its biggest year ever. The only reason I am afraid of saying that, because I want to be technical with these predictions, is the fact that last year was so insane. Like we went from 5 billion all the way to 20 billion, a 4x in RWA volume. And a lot of that was inflated by a lot of US Treasury debt going on chain. So for me to say that this year will be bigger is assuming another 4x or at least another 15 billion. It may hit 30 bill this year. In fact, I think that's very likely, but just the magnitude of 2025, I think makes it hard to beat, but it's going to come close in my opinion, and you're going to see a continued parabolic rise of RWA, especially with the Clarity Genius Act coming in, which is going to further regulate stablecoins. Even more stables are going to go on chain. If gold keeps pumping, even more gold is going to come on chain. There'll be more yield opportunities, and I think overall tokenization is a big opportunity. You can see I have Canton highlighted here. This is one of my plays in the tokenization space. We're going to be doing deep dives on every sector, by the way, this year going forward. So everything I've talked about today, AI agents will do a deep dive at some point. RWA, tokenization will do a deep dive on some point. I'm just collating my research, I'm only just able to get meetings with these teams now that the New Year's ticked over. Obviously, everyone went away for the Christmas break, and now I'm starting to collect more alpha. We're going to see more announcements, and hopefully by the end of Q1, we have put it all together for you on the channel. But Canton is one that I'm making a play that the biggest RWA in terms of RWA count, total value, and market share, but there are more. And if you see what is happening right now, you're seeing a lot of gold coming on chain. You're seeing a lot of stable coins, a lot of treasuries coming on chain. So it's a really, really, really exciting space. And there are so many micro opportunities in tokenization that are being created as a result of a sector that not many people actually know about or participate in. For example, multipliers you can see in front of you. I've actually got some of my gold, stake your multiply. I'm getting almost 10% on my gold, and I'm also getting an additional airdrop when the token launch happens this year. Most people just have their gold sitting doing nothing. I'm actually getting 10%. Maybe I'll even end up getting 20 to 30% adjusted for the airdrop on my gold, which is probably also going to go up another 20%. So I can make 50% on that position, for example. Now, not everything's guaranteed. There's smart contract risks. So I'm not saying, put all of your gold and all of your stocks into RWAs, but there are ways to make money, and there are arbitrages, and there's the ability to make yield now on chain, which wasn't previously there before. And a lot of gold bugs and a lot of people that aren't familiar with or trust crypto, they don't understand what's happening, but there are a lot of amazing protocols being built in the tokenization space. That's just one example, but recently I came across a real estate company which enables you to buy fractionalized shares in Airbnbs. We actually own the underlying holding company, and you can actually earn yield in some cases 15 to 20% a year on an apartment. And then you can go into RWA and leverage against it just like you would do with a traditional mortgage to buy more property. And you can run a tokenized property loop. Like this sort of stuff is giving you opportunities. So in terms of liquid opportunities, I'm not saying like any of these sectors, go and buy a bunch of the altcoins under the sectors. Of course, you might have a couple that you hold, but the biggest alpha that I can give you is just staying aware and continuing to research and continue to consume content and learn about these sectors, because there are all sorts of micro opportunities, whether it be small caps, low caps, yield opportunities that are under these narratives that just not a lot of people are aware about. And I know crypto might be boring from a majors perspective, but one thing I can assure you is that it's certainly not boring from an opportunity point of view. There's still so much happening. Okay, low caps aren't pumping like they used to, but there's still so many opportunities to make a lot more money than the traditional world because these arbitrages exist. So you have to broaden your mindset a little bit around the space. All right, the final 3 predictions here, and these are major ones. Number 8, stablecoin supply increases 50%. This is a pretty big prediction. I believe stablecoins almost doubled in 2025, but I'm expecting another big uptick similar to what we saw towards the end of 2024 and 2021, as well as the midway point of last year. I'm expecting an uptick for the overall stablecoin growth, and this is also going to be a good thing for markets because more liquidity in the market means more opportunities, more yield opportunity. Tokens are also more supported, although it's been offset by the amount of tokens that have been launching, but the strong coins should benefit from this. And once again, the Genius Act should further strengthen the case for stablecoins growth. The last 2, and this is very, very important in terms of framing what you hold this year. 9, altcoins with strong revenue models will trump speculation. This is very much the year, as was the end of last year, of real generating protocols. Protocols that are generating real yield, protocols that are generating real revenue. These are going to beat every day of the week the protocols that will trump speculation because, and I'm going to give you my last prediction now, institutions will drive markets more than retail. Institutions and funds, they are looking at numbers. They're looking at cryptos like stocks. They're simply going to look at cryptos that are achieving the most revenue. They're going to look at who's doing the most buybacks, and they're going to speculate based on the potential future demand from the revenue growth that the underlying protocol is getting. So the protocols with strong revenue models, the ones that are actually earning money, and we talked about some earlier, like Hyperliquid, these are protocols that actually earn money through fees. A lot of the RWA protocols are in the same boat. We talked about some of these on SOAR. These are real startups that are making money that are launching in crypto. These are the types of tokens to be focusing on this year. I mean, of course, I'm still going to trade narratives and hype and speculation at some point because you can make money off that. But making your core portfolio founded in revenue, focusing your core portfolio around things that actually make money, this is going to make it a lot easier to hold these tokens. Because when you're relying purely on speculation, you're relying on retail. And we know this is the cycle of institutions. Institutions drove the DAT narrative through Bitcoin and Ethereum last year. It's a different market to what it used to be, and you have to trade accordingly. So the tokens I'm focusing on holding, and obviously I'm doing a lot of trading on the side, but a lot of the tokens I'm holding are all based around the key concept of revenue. If something is making real money, like a real business, I'm much more inclined to hold it. So those are my 10 predictions this year. To summarize, AI and AI agents are going to make a real comeback. 2, equities and metal perps trading is going to explode. 3, prediction market volumes are going to 5x. 4, neobanks become crypto's most exponential sector in terms of total addressable market and where it can go. 5, ICOs will be back in full force. 6, Bitcoin will end the year higher than it started, and we should see a big leg up from Bitcoin this year. 7, RWAs will have its second, if not its biggest year ever. 8, stablecoins will increase by 50% or more. 9, altcoins with strong revenue models will trump speculative models. And 10, institutions will drive markets more than retail. We'll come back at the end of the year and review this. Let me know what your predictions are. Do you have one overarching prediction? Let me know in the comments below. That still qualifies you, by the way, to win the $100. You don't need to say Noti Gang. It's just something easy for people to remember. But leave a comment. Let me know what your predictions are. And I'll actually have a look at them in the next video and maybe respond to a few of them. If I'm actually doing a video with Fabian tomorrow as usual, so we're back to our Friday slot. He'll have an opinion on this because he's obviously really into narratives, really into macros, so he'll definitely have an opinion on them. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I'll see you later. Have a lovely rest of your day. Peace out.